Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the layers on an industry that might just surprise you with its sheer scale. We're talking about the global market for flat razor wire.
Right. It's one of those things, isn't it? Often unseen, but pretty critical.
Exactly. It forms a key part of global infrastructure security,
Yeah.
things we rely on but don't always think about.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is to really extract the key insights from some detailed market forecast data. This comes from cognitive market research. We want to give you a shortcut, essentially, to grasp the size, the regional dynamics, and, well, the future path of this specific market.
Mm-hmm.
It's a less talked about segment, for sure, but incredibly active.
And that's why looking at the hard numbers, like the ones in this report, is so important. It cuts through assumptions. It's easy to overlook these kinds of markets, the ones not making headlines every day.
Yeah.
But the data shows the reality. You start to see these unseen gears of global commerce, these foundational elements keeping critical systems secure. And maybe just to clarify for listeners, flat razor wire, it's not quite your typical barbed wire.
Good point.
It's often used for, say, critical infrastructure, industrial sites, high-security places, designed for deterrence, and it installs, well, flatter, more compactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the big picture, the global view, the overall market size for flat razor wire. Back in 2021, it was already significant, $841.581 million. Let's call it $842 million.
Nearly $1 billion, even then.
Right, and looking ahead, the projections, they're even more striking. By 2025, it's expected to cross that billion-dollar mark, hitting about $1.05 billion.
Why?
And then by 2033, the forecast is for it to climb to $1.636 billion. Let's round that to $1.64 billion.
Wow.
That reflects a really steady compound annual growth rate that's TAGR of 5.7%.
Yeah.
So perspective here. Yeah, it's consistent, solid growth, almost doubling in size over about a decade.
What's fascinating here really is the scale. For a market that, like you said, many people might not even consciously consider. I mean, it's a specialized product, right? But it's set to nearly double globally. That 5.7% CAGR, it's not just abstract. It points to this deep, enduring demand, driven by global security needs, infrastructure build-out, expanding steadily everywhere.
Okay, so that's the global scale. Now let's zoom in a bit. In North America.
Okay.
Here we see some interesting dynamics between countries. The region itself was about $243 million in 2021, projected to reach around $465 million by 2033. The CAGR there is just over 5.6%, so pretty close to the global average.
Right, steady growth.
Now, within North America,
Yeah.
the U.S. predictably is the heavyweight. It was about $204 million in 2021, set to hit almost $387 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 5.5%.
Okay.
Canada contributed roughly $29 million in 2021, expected to grow to about $53 million by 2033. Again, a similar CAGR, around 5.5%.
Very similar growth patterns there.
But here's where it gets interesting. Mexico. It's a smaller market in total value, started around $10.5 million in 2021, but it's projected to more than double, reaching $25 million by 2033. And look at the CAGR. Nearly 6.9%. That's noticeably higher momentum.
That Mexico figure, almost 7% growth. Yeah, that really stands out compared to the 5.5% for the U.S. and Canada.
Definitely.
It suggests something different is happening there, maybe faster industrial development, perhaps specific infrastructure projects or, different security needs driving that higher demand. It's quite telling.
Right. Okay, let's shift focus now across the Atlantic to Europe. Europe also has a strong footprint. Back in 2021, the market there was about $196 million, and it's projected to reach around $372 million by 2033. The CGR is pretty solid at 5.5%.
Again, close to that North American rate.
Yes, but when you drill down into the countries, you see more variation.
Yeah.
For instance, the UK starts at $29 million, goes to $53 million. That's a 5.2% CAGR. Germany, a larger market, goes from about $40.6 million to $75.4 million. That's 5.3% CAGR. France, $26.7 million to $48.3 million, so 5.2%. Italy, $19.4 million to $34.9 million, also 5.2%.
Seeing a pattern there, around 5.2, 5.3%.
We are. Russia, too, projected from $21 million to $38.3 million, 5.2% CAGR. Spain, from $16.1 million to $28.2 million, slightly lower at 5.1%. But then, interestingly, you see some countries with notably lower growth. Sweden's CAGR is just under 4%. Denmark, 3.6%, and Luxembourg, even lower at 2.9%.
So some slower growth pockets.
Right. But counterbalancing that, the category labeled Rest of Europe, so countries not individually listed that's surging. It has a significantly higher CGR of 7.5%.
Ah, that's interesting. 7.5% for the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
That really paints a picture, doesn't it? You've got the big established economies growing steadily, maybe more mature markets, but then this dynamism in the rest of Europe suggests what? Maybe strong demand, rapid development, maybe later adoption catching up quickly in those other nations? It's quite a contrast.
It is. Okay, so from Europe, let's head over to Asia Pacific. This region is, well, it's a powerhouse for flat razor wire.
The biggest region, right?
By far. It started at an impressive $303 million back in 2021 and projected to more than double, hitting over $607 million by 2033. The TGR here is robust, 5.9%.
Slightly above the global average.
Exactly. And China, as you might expect, is a huge player, $123 million in 2021, forecast to grow to over $250 million by 2033. That's a 6.0% CAGR, the largest single country market.
Makes sense. Massive infrastructure, massive country.
Japan also holds a significant share, growing from about $29.4 million to nearly $56 million at 5.5% CAGR. And India shows really strong growth. It's said to nearly double, from $60 million to almost $124 million. That's an impressive 6.1% CAGR.
Wow, India slightly outpacing even China in growth rate there?
Yes. Other notables, South Korea growing at 5.5%, Australia a bit slower at 4.3%, Singapore, 5.0%, Southeast Asia as a block, 5.4%, Taiwan, 5.4%. And again, similar to Europe, that rest of APAC category is also showing strong momentum, surging with a 6.9% CGR.
So if you connect this back to the bigger picture, Asia Pacific's sheer size plus that slightly higher overall KAGR, it really positions the region as a key engine, maybe the key engine, for global growth in this market.
Definitely feels that way.
And the contributions from China and India, they just underscore that rapid development, the increasing security infrastructure needs driving things forward across Asia.
Okay, let's round out the regional picture. We'll group the remaining areas. South America, the Middle East, and Africa.
Got it.
Starting with South America. This market was about $35.3 million in 2021, projected to reach $62.2 million by 2033. The CAGR is around 5.0%.
A bit lower than the other major regions.
Slightly, yeah. Within South America, Brazil leads. It's forecast to go from $16.3 million to about $29 million. That's a 5.1% CAGR. Other countries mentioned are Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, and the rest of South America group. Now, moving to the Middle East, this region really stands out. Very strong growth. Started at $38.7 million in 2021. Aiming for $80.7 million by 2033. Now, check this KGR. 6.049%. Let's call it 6.05%. This is actually the highest regional high EAGR overall.
Higher than Asia Pacific even. Wow.
Yep, and we see strong country growth fueling that. Saudi Arabia boasts a 6.3% CAGR. Turkey is strong at nearly 5.9%. The UAE, also high at 6.3%.
Very dynamic region for this market then.
Absolutely. And finally, Africa. The market started at $25.2 million in 2021, projected to double, reaching $50.3 million by 2033. Also a robust TAGR, 6.0%, identical to the Middle East overall rate.
Interesting.
Key countries highlighted are Nigeria, with a very strong 6.2% CAGR, and South Africa at 5.9%.
So this data really raises an important question, doesn't it? What's behind these varying growth rates, especially the really high ones in the Middle East and Africa? Those strong CGRs, matching or even exceeding Asia Pacific in some cases, they definitely signal significant emerging market opportunities. You have to assume it's driven by things like ongoing urbanization, industrial expansion, commercial sector growth, and maybe an increasing focus on border security, national security needs in those regions. It paints a picture of pretty robust demand building up.
So bringing it all together then. What we've really uncovered today is this truly global market for flat razor wire. It's not just big, it's consistently expanding. We saw North America steady growth, Europe's, varied but still significant demand. Asia Pacific is the clear powerhouse led by China and India. And then these really impressive emerging opportunities in South America and especially the Middle East and Africa with those high growth rates. The key takeaway seems pretty clear. It might be seen as a niche market, but it has surprisingly significant scale and really consistent global expansion, looking set to nearly double over the next decade or so.
It really makes you consider, doesn't it, how markets just like this one, the ones often unnoticed in just, daily conversation, they collectively form the bedrock, the foundation for global infrastructure for security needs.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
It just brings into focus how many of these specialized industries are quietly thriving, sort of beneath the surface of our everyday awareness, playing these absolutely essential roles in the intricate machinery of global commerce and security. Makes you think.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into a specific corner of the security world. It's one you might not think about much, but it's actually pretty significant: the flat razor wire panel market. Our mission here is to pull out the most important nuggets, maybe some surprises too, from our source material. It's all about this crucial piece of modern security. Okay, let's unpack this. When we talk about something like razor wire panels, what's the first thing that strikes you about why they're so relevant right now?
Well, what's fascinating really is how something so tangible, almost, low tech, how razor wire panels connect up to such a huge range of global trends. It might sound super specific, this market, but it touches on urban infrastructure, border security, even geopolitical shifts. It's much more connected than you'd first guess.
That's a great way to put it. It's easy to just see them as, well, basic barriers, but the sources really emphasize their growing importance. So let's dig into why. Why is this market actually growing so much? What are the main forces, the drivers?
Okay, so the biggest engine here, based on the research, it's the rising global demand for perimeter security solutions, just overall. As cities grow, as the need for controlled access gets bigger, you see these panels showing up more. And not just like military bases. We're talking residential, commercial, industrial zones. They're good at two key things. One, that, look, it's a strong visual deterrent. And two, they're just a solid physical barrier against anyone trying to get in.
A visual deterrent, yeah.
And a physical one. Exactly. And it really shows how these sort of foundational, simpler solutions are still vital, even with all the advanced tech out there.
And it's not just about stopping people, is it? It's about doing it well, efficiently, affordably. Right. I was really struck by how the sources kept mentioning cost effectiveness. That seems key. You compare them to high-tech surveillance, which can get really expensive. These panels offer pretty solid protection without breaking the bank. It sort of challenges that idea that security has to be super expensive.
Absolutely. And that cost part links right into the practical side. They're incredibly versatile. You can use them in lots of different environments. So they work for permanent fences, but also for temporary stuff like setting up security for a big event or maybe a disaster relief camp. The sources point out they're quick to put up walls, roofs, fences, and they need very little maintenance.
Quick setup, low maintenance.
Right. And that speed, that ease of deployment is huge in high-risk areas or emergencies when you need security fast, like now.
Okay, so we've got the drivers pushing it forward, but of course there are always hurdles. Let's switch gears. What about the challenges? The restraints holding the market back a bit? I guess safety, liability, that must be the big one, right?
Right.
Given what they are.
That's definitely the immediate worry, yeah. How do you balance being effective with, public safety? And the look of it. And the fact that threats evolve, these panels are sharp, hazardous. There's an inherent risk of injury to people, to animals, and that's led to, quite rightly, ethical debates.
Yeah.
Legal scrutiny, too, especially if you're talking about using them in public areas or near homes.
Makes sense.
And then beyond the safety, there's the aesthetic issue, the look. It's aggressive, kind of militarized.
Right.
And that often clashes, sometimes badly, with modern building designs, especially in, say, commercial areas or nicer urban zones. So sometimes they're just avoided because they look too harsh, even if they'd work well.
That's interesting, the visual objection. It's not just function, it's how it feels.
Yeah.
And I bet that feeds into the rules and regulations, too.
Exactly right. The regulatory side is complicated. Different places have different rules. Some regions are very strict. Or they might ban razor wire completely in public spots or on residential properties. So that obviously limits where you can actually use them, no matter the need.
Right, regulations can be a major roadblock.
And one more thing. While they are a good physical barrier, the sources are clear. They aren't foolproof. Not against determined attackers, someone with decent wire cutters or breaching tools. They can still get through. So often you need to layer them, integrate them with cameras, sensors, other systems to make the security truly strong. It makes you think about their limits.
Okay, so layering becomes important. Given those challenges and how threats change, how's the industry adapting? Let's look at the key trends now. What's shaping the market going forward? The sources seem to point to integration with electronic systems as the top trend. How does that change things?
Yeah, that's a big one. What's really interesting is how this simple razor wire panel is shifting. It's moving from just being a standalone barrier to being a part of a more complex adaptive security strategy. When you link them up with motion sensors, CCTV, alarms, They become part of an intelligence system, a layered defense. They're not just sitting there passively anymore, they're actively part of triggering a response. That move towards smart integration is huge.
So they become part of the conversation, electronically speaking, not just a physical wall. Interesting. What other shifts are happening? Any surprises?
Well, another big trend is using them more in temporary and mobile security setups. Think about those disaster relief camps we mentioned, or big construction projects, maybe high-profile events. They're chosen because they're easy to move, fast to set up, and still provide that strong visual deterrent. It really speaks to their practical flexibility.
That flexibility is key.
And also on the material side, there's innovation happening there too. Our sources talk about better coatings, galvanized steel, anti-corrosion treatments, like hot dip galvanization, PVC coatings. These make the panels last much longer, especially in tough weather, which means better year-round performance, more durability. That's important for long-term infrastructure.
Better durability, wider application.
Yeah.
Especially if we connect this back to global stuff. The sources show they're being used more in geopolitical hotspots. That really stands out.
It does. It's a pretty stark trend, actually. As conflicts and border tensions, unfortunately, rise around the world, you see governments, defense forces relying more heavily on these panels for checkpoints, borders, critical infrastructure zones. It just underscores their ongoing, maybe even growing relevance in really volatile situations, almost like a default first line of defense.
Right. So what does this all boil down to for you, our listener? We've done a deep dive here into the flat razor wire panel market. We looked at the drivers pushing its growth, the restraints it's facing, and these key trends shaping its future. It might seem like a niche area, but as we see, it's actually a pretty dynamic and evolving part of how we think about perimeter defense today.
Exactly. And maybe the question this leaves you with is something to mull over. How do we keep balancing things? Effective physical barriers like these with more sophisticated tech, and crucially with the ethical side, safety, aesthetics, plus the hard realities of global security and politics. It's worth thinking about the longer-term impact of all these trends on our cities, on border management, maybe even on our own sense of safety.